Hello and welcome back to Hardworking Man. Today I'm going to show you 2 must-know about settings on your box store style splitters to get the optimal performance out of them. I did a video the other day showing you how to adjust your pump between first and second stage, which is essential to know, but I messed up. And I was actually adjusting the pressure relief valve, which could mess up your machine if you do it wrong. So today I'm going to touch on both of those and how they work together, and then we're going to show you what it is if they're set wrong. One thing I love about having a YouTube channel is I learn just as much as I can help others learn. And when I mess up, I'm not afraid to own it. And this is one of those instances. Now on most of your box store style splitters and your commercial splitters, there's adjustments. And on the box store style splitters, a lot of people don't know they exist. The one I did in the video the other day was right here. On this particular setup on the valve, underneath this bolt is a screw. And what that screw does is it adjusts your bypass, your hydraulic bypass pressure. The tighter you make it, the more pressure it takes before it goes through that bypass. Now, what can that cause? Well, if it's set too tight, it'll stall your engine out. If your settings are done correctly on both of these on your splitter, your engine should never stall out. That's the point of the settings, to get optimal performance without overloading the engine. Now, if you set this too tight and your engine doesn't stall out, you can put too much pressure or too high a PSI into your machine, into your pump. It could be dangerous and it could wreck your machine. So to set this one correctly, ultimately you would need a pressure gauge, which this unit doesn't have. A lot of the commercial splitters do, but this one doesn't. You could add one. So I'm just going to reset it back to where it was when I bought the machine, and then I'm going to show you what happens if it's too high, so you can understand if yours is set too high. Now, I'm not a hydraulic expert, so if you do these adjustments, it's at your own risk. I'm showing you what I do, and if you choose to adapt it to what you do, that's on you. The other setting I'm going to show you is what I was meaning to show you last time. I've done this adjustment on my Easton Mate, I've done it on my Allwood, and this one you can do sort of by feel from what I've been taught. So that is actually the adjustment on your pump. On this particular pump, it happens to be underneath this cap. So we'll take that off and there's a screw. Now that one, the tighter you put it, the longer it stays in stage 1, which is your fast stage. The looser you make it, the quicker it'll kick into stage 2, which is your power stage. So ultimately, to get the premium or ultimate performance out of your splitter, you want it to be in stage 1 as long as it can until it starts to bog the engine. Then you want it to kick to stage 2 for more power, and as soon as it doesn't need the increased power, right back to stage 1. Now, when you make these adjustments to these settings, you want to make sure you're at operating temperature. So I've split up a bunch of wood getting ready for this video. I'm going to fire up the machine. Right now, I have my hydraulic bypass valve set where it needs to be. Now, the adjustment on the pump, I have set really tight, so it's going to stay in stage 1 for too long. And let me show you what happens when it does that. This is a black locust round with a knot in it. I'm hoping that it's tough enough to split that I can show you what I'm trying to show you. So let's see what it does. And it was not, but you saw there right at the end of the stroke when I held it too long, that's what it did. So part of getting these adjustments set right is having something that splits tough enough to put the pressure against it. Now this is something I wouldn't recommend doing, but I'm going to do it so I can get the resistance I need to show you these adjustments. I'm putting this on here sideways, and it should stall the splitter out. I'm going to have Rachel move because this can shoot out the sides when you try to split them this way. So let's get her readjusted, then I'm going to put the pressure to this, and it should show you what I'm trying to show you. All right, so here we go. This should stay in stage 1 too long. Install the machine out. So now I'm going to show you what happens when we take it out of stage 1 into stage 2 too early. So now, if this is set correctly and this is set correctly, that should never happen. It stayed in stage 1, which is high speed, low power, too long, installed the engine out. So we're going to take this cap off. It's sort of a pain on this splitter. It might be a cap like this, or it might be a different style depending on your pump. But once we get this off, and these hoses are hot because it's up to temperature, now we're going to loosen this. because tightening it puts it into stage 1 longer. Loosening it will put it into stage 2 sooner. So now we're gonna exaggeratedly loosen it, so it's gonna go into stage 2, and then it should power all the way through that round sideways, but it's gonna go slow for far too long. All right, so now we have it going into stage 2 too early, but it should split this in half and not stall. See, it's in stage 2, it's going really slow, but it has the power. So we need it in stage 2 while it needs the power, but then to go to stage 1. So now let's adjust it there. So now I'm tightening this adjustment back up so that it'll stay in stage 1 up until the point where the engine bogs. Then it kicks to stage 2 when it needs the power, and as soon as it doesn't need the power, right back to stage 1. So I'm just gonna guess, and you might have to do a couple of splits to figure this out where it's best for your machine. All right, so now I should have both valves set pretty close. You'll see it'll go into stage 2. The engine will just start to bog, but not quite. And if I was splitting a normal tough splitting round, when it got through the hard part, it would go back into stage 1. Because I'm doing this sideways, it's not going to go into an easy part, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So now it's stage 2, just started to bog. It's stage 2, and if it ever got easy, it would kick right back to stage 1. Now we're going to throw this beach up here, and this can sometimes be difficult to split and sometimes easy, so we'll see how it does. Now if this provides enough resistance, it'll quick go to stage 2, and when it pops, right back to stage 1. So that's set pretty close. I'm going to loosen this just a touch to get it into stage 2 just a touch sooner, because it kicked down a little bit boggier than I'd like to. I mean, I'd say that's pretty close to where I want it. So now you saw it set pretty decent on both levels where you want it. Now I'm going to turn the pressure on this way up so it doesn't bypass, and then I'm going to go back to the sideways round and show you what happens there. Now I don't recommend you do this to your machine, because like I said earlier in the video, it could cause damage to the machine, or if something pops, it could spray you in hot hydraulic fluid. So hopefully that doesn't happen, or if it does, hopefully it only gets me, not Rachel, and we get it on film, but I don't think it will. So I am going to turn this and keep track. So there's one full turn. So 1.5 turns, I just put this in, and now let me show you what happens when you have your bypass set too high. So we're putting too much PSI into this machine, or into this splitter. So now our stage 1, stage 2 is set just where it was, but our bypass is set too high. So you'll see when it goes into stage 2, and you hold it for too long, it's going to bog the motor, where before I could hold that as long as I wanted to, because once the pressure got too high, it would bypass. So these things work together in conjunction to have your splitter set up for premium performance. So now I'm going to put this back to where it bypasses at what I believe is the correct level. Again, without a gauge, it's purely a guess on my part. And I don't recommend you do a lot of what I've done in this video. Don't push this to the limits. Don't split wood sideways, because if we caught it, you can see that it can fly.
Yeah, almost got me.
So there's one turn, there's a half. And if you want to be on the safe side, you can do it just a little more than what you know, I guess, if that makes sense. But now this should be set up pretty good. As we put hours on it, if we keep this long enough and put hundreds of hours on it, you may have to adjust these settings. Or if you have a splitter, a county line, a champion, a Husky, that has a lot of hours on it or has never been adjusted properly, you can, I guess, take what I've given you in this video, contact somebody who's an expert, and then do it. Or if you are a risk taker like me, you can just do it on your own. But again, this is how I do it. I'm not telling you how to do it. All right, so it should be set where I want it now. And this should be, you know, right there to stage 2, powers through, and back to stage 1. You can see that was a difficult split there. And it didn't stall the engine. It went to stage 2 when it was needed, and back to stage 1 when it didn't need stage 2 anymore. That's how you want your splitter set up. If you watched an early video or two with this hyper split, you could see that it was bogging down and almost stalling sometimes because one of those 2 settings, or both, were out of whack. So when it's not needed, it'll just stay in stage 1. That's your ultimate speed. But when you need that power, the 25 tons it claims, you're only getting that in stage 2. So hopefully this video makes sense. Hopefully it can help people out. And another thing that I had noticed when I had that pressure relief valve set too high, so there was too much pressure in the machine, when I would rapidly change directions, it was stalling. Which now you can see it's not, because that's a pressure spike right there, but the bypass kicks in. So if when you do this, you're stalling or bogging your engine, you probably have this set too high. Now one thing I mentioned about this hyper split, and I'm not sponsored by them, I believe it's made by Tool Tough Direct. And they're only available right now at Family Farm and Home. I don't know if they'll become available somewhere else or online. You can look up Tool Tough Direct on the internet, and they have this splitter on there with the specs, and it does say it's only available at Family Farm and Home. But you can see when it's set up, it's a pretty quick splitter. I got it on sale for $900. I think they're back to $1,200 or $1,300 now. But one thing I would like if this wedge was taller, and somebody mentioned this wedge doesn't go all the way down, which if it got a little closer, a lot of your wood, especially with this wide plate, is split by then. But as you see, sometimes it leaves strings. So this is the video I thought I was making the other day when I messed up and didn't adjust the pump. I was only adjusting the valve. So the one thing I didn't show in this video is if you have this set way too loose. And what that will be is it'll bypass at way too low of a pressure and you just won't have any power out of your cylinder. So if you have what you feel is a lack of power, it could be that this is set too loose. So hopefully this video helps some people out, helps you get better performance out of whatever your box store style splitter is. And if you didn't know, if it has a 2-stage pump, has an adjustment on the pump, and should have an adjustment on the valve for the pressure relief valve. So hopefully this helps you out. That's what we love doing here on Hardworking Man, is helping others learn, and we obviously learn along the way too. So thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.